Hi. Today, again, I would like to talk about something that some of our friends, our viewers, suggested me to talk about. I like people who, tell me what they want to hear more. So the suggestion is if I could talk about the Paris Agreement, the global warming, and climate change, and all this. So I will do it. But before I continue, again, don't forget to subscribe or check your subscription and notification is still valid. And of course, afterward, if you like it, click like and support us. And always you want to make comments, and it's also a support, or using Patreon and PayPal to support us. Global warming. This is a term I think all of us have been hearing for many, many years. I think it must be already decades. 20, 30 years ago, people started talking about global warming. But, dear friends, have you noticed in the recent year, those people who have been talking a lot about global warming, some so-called environmentalists, I say so-called because they seems to, focus too much on global warming, and also some politicians, even, Mr. Biden, our American president, also talk a lot about global warming before. But have you noticed? This word is not used that frequent anymore, global warming. Now they only talk about climate change. Change is neutral, warming or cooling. Do you know why? Because they have been talking in decades about global warming, but the world is not getting warmer. It was. I think during the time, say from 1990 to 2010 or so, it was true that the average temperature of the world get warmer. But recent years, it doesn't go up anymore. Actually, some scientists claim that it's going down. A Russian scientist claimed that we are, so to say, moving toward a new ice time. If it continues like that in 30 years, it will be too cold. But my friend, don't worry. In my opinion, I'm not a climate scientist, but it's just, how shall I call it, a kind of common sense. Climate is not weather. Weather changes this and that, and you don't need so much maybe forces to change weather. But climate is something very stable. It's not so easy to change climate. And to believe that because we have been burning too much coal, that's why we have a climate change. I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that easy. There may be some impact, but the impact is small. So what are the main factors of climate? The climate is determined by the movement of the Earth around the sun, the radiation of sun energy on the Earth, the movement of continental plates on Earth, the movement of ocean current, all these are gigantic forces that determine the climate. What human being burning coal, and creating CO2, may affect the climate, but so little that I really don't believe that by changing our pattern, by not to burn coal, then the climate will become better. You see, this global warming, has been utilized actually as a way to cheat us, to make people to believe that we were doing the wrong thing, we should change it. So now because the Earth is not getting warmer, then they don't talk global warming. Of course, they won't use the word global cooling, but they talk about climate change. Very smart. Now, why this may be an advantage to some people, but not to us people. Because imagine, if you believe in their theory, yeah, oh, we are getting too much CO2, so we have to stop burning coal. Actually, one thing I would like to mention also here, how much CO2 we have in the air is not only determined by how much CO2 produced when you burned coal or oil, but also how much the vegetation, the forest, we know that the forest absorb, the trees and all the vegetation absorb CO2 and convert them and breathe out oxygen. So if that function is stronger, just if, than the burning of coal and oil, then we don't have too much CO2. You see? And nobody talk about, what about the forest? Maybe it's more sense to make sure that the world have more forest, or at least we cut less forest, yeah? I just mentioned one point. Now, so this global warming guy or climate change people, they want us to stop using oil. Yeah, that's why Joe Biden stopped the big oil pipeline project, making a lot of American jobless. Yeah, it's a fact. Yeah, and also all American power plants are not allowed to use coal. But in the Paris Agreement, now I come to it says that in China they can continue to burn coal until 2030. Also in India, by the way. Yeah, but I mentioned China because China is the biggest CO2 producer in the world and the biggest environmental pollution generator. But Paris Agreement doesn't really put constraint on them. Instead, it put constraint on developed countries, particularly America. The total cost, the yearly total cost in fighting climate change is about $100 billion. $100 billion. And $75 billion of this $100 billion will be paid by America. So this is the reason why Donald Trump wanted to withdraw from Paris Agreement, because he found it not fair. And if we follow the Paris Agreement, America will cut all their jobs because a lot of oil projects and so on will be stopped. Instead, we should all use solar energy. It sounds very nice. I also want to have more solar energy. But my friend, behind this nice word, there is some deals. Yeah? Why I say that? Imagine, if we stop all these oil pipeline projects, Americans get unemployed, so we will buy more solar panels. So who is the biggest producer of solar panel? China. 80% of all solar panels made in China. And you know why they become so big? It is a part of a master plan. I was in a way involved. I mentioned before that for 10 years ago, I was still, my profession was still in the energy business. Yeah? And for about 20 years ago, Chinese Communist Party identified that solar panel could be one point that they can attack the world market. So with the state subsidies, they make a price war and killed most of the Western manufacturer of solar panel. Yeah? And they dominate the market. And now they are so happy that so many so-called environmentalists talk about no oil, no coal, but solar panel. Yeah? Well, I think they are behind it too. Anyway, you can see the point. Yeah? So they love to see more solar panel in the world. And maybe that is one of the major driving force why they talk about they talk about global warming and now stop talking global warming because it's not warming, and then they talk about climate change. Yeah, like Xi Jinping when he talk, he's the angel. He wants to save humankind. Huh? But it's not that simple, my friend. So that's it for today, and see you next time. Bye-bye.